Tonight, we journey together into the realm of deep relaxation as we explore the whispering shadows of the moonlit forest. Begin by finding a comfortable position, allowing your body to be fully supported. Feel the weight of your form sinking gently into your bed. Notice how the mattress cradles you, holding you in its embrace. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely, and exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing any tension you've been carrying. Again, breathe in deeply and out completely, letting go. As you continue to breathe naturally, imagine a silver thread of moonlight entering through the crown of your head, flowing down through your body, illuminating you from within. This cool, gentle light moves through your forehead, relaxing the space between your eyebrows, softening your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw. The moonlight continues its journey down through your neck, melting away any stiffness across your shoulders, allowing them to drop away from your ears, down your arms, all the way to your fingertips, which now feel heavy and warm. Feel the silver light pool in your chest, expanding with each breath, flowing down through your torso, your abdomen, your hips. Let it cascade down your legs, all the way to your toes, which tingle slightly with this lunar energy. Now your entire body is bathed in moonlight, every cell illuminated with peaceful, restful energy. You are becoming heavier, more relaxed with each breath. Your mind is beginning to quiet, thoughts slowing down like leaves gently falling to the forest floor. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine the ceiling above you dissolving, revealing a vast night sky. Stars twinkle like distant lanterns, and the full moon shines directly above, its luminous face watching over you with benevolence. The boundaries of your room begin to fade, the walls becoming transparent, revealing a vast forest that surrounds you. Ancient trees stretch their branches toward the star-strewn sky, their silhouettes creating intricate patterns against the midnight blue canvas. The air becomes infused with the scent of pine and night-blooming jasmine, cool and refreshing as it fills your lungs. You can hear the gentle symphony of the nocturnal forest, the soft rustling of leaves, the distant hooting of an owl, the whisper of a stream somewhere beyond the trees. Feel your breath synchronizing with the rhythm of the forest, inhaling its peace, exhaling your worries. With each breath, you sink deeper into tranquility, your body feeling weightless, yet grounded. Connected to the earth beneath you, the moonlight bathes everything in a silvery glow, transforming the ordinary into the magical. Each blade of grass, each leaf, each stone seems to shimmer with an inner light, as if sharing secrets with the night. As you rest here, at the threshold between wakefulness and dreams, know that you are safe, protected, held in the gentle embrace of the night. The forest welcomes you, invites you to release your conscious thoughts, let go of any remaining tension, any lingering concerns about tomorrow or echoes from yesterday. There is only this moment, this breath, this perfect stillness as we prepare to wander into the whispering shadows of the moonlit forest. Our story begins with Elara, a dreamer much like yourself, who had long forgotten how to truly rest, her mind constantly occupied with the demands of daily life, the endless tasks and responsibilities that seemed to multiply with each passing day. On this night, a night when the moon hung full and luminous in the sky, Elara found herself drawn to the edge of an ancient forest. She had passed by these woods many times before, but had never ventured beyond their threshold. Tonight, however, something called to her, a whisper carried on the night breeze, an invitation to step beyond the known. Elara stood at the forest's edge, watching as moonlight filtered through the canopy of leaves, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs, and with it came a sense of possibility, of release from the constraints that had bound her for so long. Perhaps, she thought, just perhaps, there is peace to be found among these trees, beneath this watchful moon. With that thought, Elara took her first step into the forest. The soft earth yielded beneath her feet, cushioning her steps as she moved forward. The sounds of the world she had left behind faded, replaced by the gentle chorus of the forest at night. The path before her was illuminated by shafts of moonlight, guiding her forward, deeper into the embrace of ancient trees. Their massive trunks rose like silent guardians on either side, their branches reaching toward one another overhead, forming a cathedral of nature. As Elara walked, she felt the weight of her worries beginning to lift. With each step, each breath, she left behind a small portion of the burden she had been carrying. Her shoulders relaxed, her pace slowed, and she found herself becoming aware of the subtle magic that surrounded her. The forest seemed to acknowledge Elara's presence, but did not intrude upon her solitude. It simply existed alongside her, offering its quiet companionship as she wandered deeper along the moonlit path. Fireflies began to appear, tiny lanterns hovering in the air, their gentle pulsing light creating a dance of illumination among the shadows. Elara watched them with wonder, allowing herself to be mesmerized by their silent ballet. Time seemed to stretch and slow, each moment expanding to reveal hidden depths of beauty. She came upon a small clearing where the trees parted to reveal the full glory of the night sky. The moon cast its silver light upon a pool of still water, so clear and perfect in its reflection that it seemed there were two moons, one above and one below, connected by a column of light. Beside this mirrored pool stood a single white stone bench, as if placed there specifically for weary travelers seeking rest. Elara approached it slowly, trailing her fingers through the tall grass that swayed gently in the night breeze. As she sat upon the cool stone, she felt a profound stillness settle over her. The constant chatter of her thoughts gradually quieted, like ripples on water smoothing into glassy calm. She closed her eyes and simply breathed, allowing herself to truly feel the support beneath her, the air against her skin, the moonlight upon her face. When she opened her eyes again, Elara noticed something extraordinary. The shadows cast by the surrounding trees were not the solid, dark shapes one might expect, but rather they seemed to shift and move with a life of their own, almost as if they were breathing, pulsing with the rhythm of the forest itself. As she watched, fascinated by this impossible dance of light and shadow, Elara began to hear something new beneath the ambient sounds of the forest. A whisper, so faint she might have imagined it, yet undeniably present. "Welcome, seeker of peace," came the whisper, seeming to emanate from the shadows themselves. "We have awaited one who could perceive us." Elara felt no fear at this unexpected greeting, only a sense of curious wonder, as if some deep part of her had always known such things were possible, in a forest bathed in moonlight. "Who are you?" she asked softly, her voice barely disturbing the night air. The shadows shifted, coalescing into a form that was neither fully human nor entirely otherworldly. A figure composed of darkness and moonlight, with eyes that reflected the stars. "We are the keepers of night's mysteries," the shadow replied, its voice like leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. "We exist in the spaces between, in the moments of transition, between day and night, between wakefulness and dreams. We are the whispering shadows." Elara found herself nodding, as if this explanation made perfect sense to her drowsy mind. "Why have you revealed yourselves to me?" she asked. The shadow figure moved closer, its form rippling like water. "Because you are ready to learn the secrets of true rest, the art of surrendering to the night, of finding peace in the darkness." As the shadow spoke, Elara felt herself relaxing even further, her breathing becoming slower, deeper. The bench beneath her seemed to cradle her more gently, and the air around her took on a velvety quality, enveloping her in comfort. "The world of daylight demands much from you," continued the shadow. "It asks for your attention, your energy, your constant striving, but here, in our realm, you need only be. There is nothing to accomplish, nothing to prove, nothing to fix or solve or understand." These words washed over Elara like cool water, soothing something within her that had been parched for far too long. "Will you accept our gift?" asked the whispering shadow, extending what appeared to be a hand, formed of moonlight and darkness intertwined. Without hesitation, Elara reached out. Her fingers passed through the shadow's form, but she felt a sensation like cool silk against her skin, and suddenly her perception shifted. The forest around her became even more vivid, more alive. She could sense the slow, patient breathing of the ancient trees, feel the gentle stirring of roots deep beneath the soil, hear the whispering conversations between leaves as they rustled against one another. "This is how we perceive the world," explained the shadow, "not as separate pieces, but as one interconnected tapestry of being. Everything in constant communication, everything in perfect balance." Elara closed her eyes, allowing this new awareness to flow through her. She could feel the moonlight on her skin as a tangible presence, nourishing her like food. The symphony of night sounds arranged itself into a melody that seemed to sing directly to her soul. "Follow me," invited the shadow, There is more to discover. Rising from the bench, Elara felt remarkably light, as if gravity had loosened its hold upon her. Her steps made no sound as she followed the shadow deeper into the forest. The path they took seemed to create itself before them, illuminated by the soft blue glow that emanated from her guide. They passed through groves where the trees grew so close together that their trunks formed natural archways, beneath canopies so dense that only the occasional moonbeam penetrated, creating spotlights on the forest floor. They walked alongside a stream that sang a liquid lullaby as it tumbled over smooth stones, its surface glittering with reflected starlight. Throughout this journey, Elara found herself growing more serene, more present. Her mind no longer raced ahead or lagged behind. She was simply here, now, experiencing each moment as it unfolded. After a time that could have been minutes or hours, they arrived at a circular clearing. In its center stood a ring of white birch trees, their pale bark luminous in the moonlight. Within this natural circle, strange flowers bloomed, flowers that should not have been able to grow in darkness. Their petals were translucent, almost ghostly, and they emitted a soft phosphorescence that added to the ethereal quality of the space. "This is the Grove of Midnight Blooms," said the shadow, "a place where the impossible becomes possible, where the boundaries between worlds grows thin." Elara stepped into the circle, immediately feeling a change in the air around her. It was as if time moved differently here, flowing like honey rather than racing like a river. The scent of the night flowers enveloped her, a fragrance unlike anything she had experienced before, sweet yet earthy, comforting yet mysterious. "Sit," invited the shadow, gesturing to a carpet of soft moss at the center of the circle, "and listen to what the forest wishes to share with you." Elara lowered herself onto the moss, surprised at how it seemed to conform to her body, supporting her perfectly. She leaned back, gazing up at the full moon directly overhead, framed by the white birch trees that surrounded her. As she relaxed into this perfect cradle of nature, the shadows around the clearing began to shift and move. They gathered like gentle waves, flowing toward her but never quite touching her, and within their movement, voices emerged, a chorus of whispers that somehow formed coherent thoughts in Elara's mind. "Breathe with us," they seemed to say. "Sync your rhythm to ours." Elara did as they suggested, adjusting her breath to match the slow, steady pulse she could feel emanating from the earth beneath her, from the trees around her, from the very air itself. With each inhale, she drew in the forest's tranquility. With each exhale, she released another fragment of tension she had been carrying. As Elara's breathing synchronized with the forest's rhythm, the whispering shadows continued their gentle instruction. "Feel how the trees stand, rooted yet reaching, grounded yet growing. They neither rush nor strive. They simply exist in perfect harmony with their nature." Elara considered this wisdom, realizing how much of her life had been spent rushing from one thing to another, never fully present, always anticipating the next task, the next challenge, the next requirement. How different it would be to live like these trees, firmly rooted in the present moment, yet still reaching toward growth and light. "Observe how the moon travels across the sky," continued the whispers. It does not hurry its journey, nor does it delay. It moves at exactly the pace it is meant to move, neither rushing ahead nor lagging behind. This thought resonated deeply within Elara. She had spent so much time trying to control the uncontrollable, to rush what needed time, to hold back what needed to flow. Perhaps there was wisdom in surrendering to her own natural rhythm, in trusting the timing of her life. Listen to the night birds calling to one another across the distance, said the shadows. They do not worry if their song will be heard. They simply offer it to the darkness, trusting that it will reach where it is meant to reach. Elara smiled at this, thinking of all the words she had held back, all the expressions of joy or sorrow or wonder she had censored, fearing they would not be received as intended. What freedom there would be in simply offering her truth to the world, without attachment to how it might be perceived. Feel the moss beneath you, the whispers continued. It grows where it is planted, transforming what appears barren into something soft and welcoming. It does not question whether it should be a tree instead, or wish it were a flower. It fulfills its purpose with quiet grace. This gentle reminder brought tears to Elara's eyes. How often had she compared herself to others, finding herself lacking? How much energy had she wasted wishing to be something other than what she was, when she might have been cultivating her own unique gifts? The night deepened around Elara as she absorbed these simple yet profound teachings. The moon had begun its downward arc across the sky, casting longer shadows through the trees. The flowers in the grove seemed to pulse with a slower rhythm now, as if they too were settling into a deeper state of rest. There is one more lesson we wish to share, whispered the shadows, their voices now a barely perceptible murmur. Observe how the forest embraces both light and shadow, neither rejecting the darkness nor clinging desperately to the light. Each has its purpose, each has its beauty, each is necessary for the whole. Elara contemplated this wisdom, thinking of how she had always feared her own inner shadows, those parts of herself that felt too complex or too painful to examine. She had spent so much energy running toward what seemed bright and positive, never realizing that true wholeness could only come from embracing all aspects of her being. The night does not fight against itself, continued the whispers. It does not expend energy wishing to be day. It knows its value, its purpose, its place in the eternal cycle, and in this acceptance, it finds peace. As these words settled into Elara's consciousness, she felt something shift within her. A knot of resistance that she had carried for so long began to loosen and unravel. She had been fighting against her need for rest, for stillness, for reprieve, seeing these things as weaknesses rather than essential components of a balanced life. The shadow that had guided her moved closer now, its form seeming more substantial in the deepening night. "You begin to understand," it said, its voice like velvet against her mind. "True peace comes not from escaping what is, but from embracing it fully." Elara nodded, words unnecessary in this moment of recognition. She felt heavier now, in the most pleasant way, as if she were melting into the moss beneath her, becoming part of the forest floor. Her eyelids grew weighted, each blink lasting longer than the one before. "Rest now," encouraged the shadow. "Let yourself drift into the space between wakefulness and dreams, where healing happens." As Elara surrendered to the gentle pull of sleep, the whispering shadows gathered around her like a living blanket. Their presence was comforting rather than frightening, protective rather than threatening. They hummed a wordless lullaby that seemed to vibrate at the exact frequency of peace. The moon continued its arc across the night sky, painting silver patterns through the branches overhead. Time flowed differently here in this sacred grove, stretching and condensing like the breath of a sleeping forest. Elara floated in a state between consciousness and dreams, aware yet not alert, present yet not engaged. It was a delicious liminality, a perfect balance point where effort ceased and being took precedence. In this space, images began to form behind her closed eyelids. Not quite dreams, but not quite thoughts either. She saw herself as a sapling, rooted in rich soil, growing at her own pace toward distant sunlight, unbothered by the speed of others' growth, content in her own becoming. She saw herself as a stream, flowing naturally around obstacles, rather than fighting against them, finding the path of least resistance, not out of laziness, but out of wisdom, understanding that force often creates more resistance, while flexibility creates progress. She saw herself as the moon, cycling through phases of fullness and emptiness, recognizing that both were temporary, both were necessary, both were beautiful in their own way. There was no need to cling to either state, only to experience each fully as it came. These visions washed through her consciousness like gentle waves, each one leaving behind a residue of understanding that settled deep within her being, not as intellectual knowledge, but as embodied wisdom. Around her, the forest continued its nighttime symphony, every sound seeming to say all is well, every scent carrying the message, you are home, every sensation affirming, this moment is enough. The whispering shadows maintained their vigil, their forms shifting and flowing with the movement of moonlight through the trees. Rest, they murmured. Rest and renew. As the night deepened toward its most profound hour, Elara drifted further into a state of perfect relaxation. Her body felt both weightless and perfectly supported, each muscle released from tension, each joint nestled in comfort. Her breath had become so slow and even that it matched the subtle respiration of the forest itself. Within this deep stillness, Elara became aware of something extraordinary. She could perceive the dreams of the forest. They flowed around and through her like currents in a vast ocean. The ancient trees dreamed of seasons long past, of the first humans to walk beneath their branches, of storms weathered and droughts survived. The flowers dreamed of sunlight and moonlight, of the touch of pollinating insects, of the joy of unfurling new petals. The creatures of the forest dreamed their own dreams, some of safety, some of pursuit, some of connection with others of their kind. All these dreams intermingled with Elara's own, creating a tapestry of consciousness that transcended individual experience. She understood now that she was not separate from this ecosystem of mind and matter, but an integral part of it, her well-being connected to the well-being of all. The whispering shadows moved through this dreamscape like gentle shepherds, tending to its flows and patterns, ensuring that balance was maintained. This is the great web, they explained without words, the interconnection of all dreaming things. Elara felt a profound sense of belonging, of coming home to a truth she had always known, but somehow forgotten. She was not alone in her existence, not isolated in her experience. She was one note in a grand symphony, one thread in an infinite tapestry, one drop in a vast ocean of being. This recognition brought tears to her closed eyes, not tears of sadness, but of relief, of homecoming, of release from the illusion of separation that had caused her so much suffering. The shadows gathered these tears like precious gems. Yes, they whispered, this is the deepest truth, the one that brings the deepest peace. Time continued its strange dance in the midnight grove, sometimes seeming to pause entirely, allowing Elara to exist in perfect stillness. Other times, flowing like water around a stone, carrying her gently from one state of consciousness to another. The moon had begun its descent toward the horizon, its light now casting longer shadows through the trees, creating new patterns on the forest floor. The night flowers had closed their luminous petals, as if preparing for the eventual arrival of dawn, though that time was still hours away. Elara remained in her state of peaceful suspension, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. Her mind had quieted to such an extent that thoughts arose only occasionally, like bubbles in still water, appearing briefly before dissolving back into silence. The whispering shadows continued their gentle attendance, sometimes singing wordless songs that seemed to harmonize with the beating of her heart, sometimes sharing ancient wisdom that settled into her bones like nourishment, sometimes simply being present, bearing witness to her perfect rest. When you return to the waking world, they told her, you will carry this peace within you, not as a memory that fades, but as a living presence at your core, a sanctuary you can access whenever you choose to remember. Elara understood that this gift was not merely for her comfort, but would allow her to move through the world differently, to bring the quality of presence she had experienced here into her daily interactions, to offer others the same spaciousness and acceptance the forest had offered her. The path to this grove remains open to you, continued the shadows, not as a physical location to which you must journey, but as an inner landscape, accessible through intention and breath, through the doorway of your own stillness. This knowledge settled into Elara like a seed being planted in fertile soil. She knew it would grow over time, revealing new dimensions of understanding as she tended it with her attention. For now, though, she simply rested in the perfect peace of this moment, allowing herself to be held by the earth beneath her, sheltered by the trees above her, watched over by the patient moon and stars. As the night reached its deepest hour, the forest around Elara grew even more still, as if holding its breath in reverence for the sacred space between one day's end and another's beginning. This was the time the whispering shadows called the pause between heartbeats, when even time itself seemed to rest. In this profound stillness, Elara experienced a state beyond relaxation, beyond peace. It was a complete dissolution of boundaries, emerging with everything around her. She could no longer tell where her body ended and the forest began. Her breath was the forest's breath. Her heartbeat echoed the slow pulse of sap through ancient trees. The whispering shadows gathered close, their voices now barely perceptible, more feeling than sound. "This is the great secret," they murmured. "This is what all beings seek, yet few discover. The truth that we are not separate, never have been, never will be." Elara absorbed this wisdom, not with her mind, but with her entire being. It flowed through her like moonlight through leaves, illuminating places within her that had long been dark, healing divisions she had not known existed. Take this feeling with you. Encourage the shadows. Let it be your compass when you feel lost, your shelter when you feel exposed, your companion when you feel alone. Images began to flow through Elara's consciousness, gentle scenes of her moving through her daily life with this new awareness, waking to greet the day with patience rather than urgency, moving through her tasks with presence rather than haste, interacting with others from a place of connection rather than separation. She saw herself pausing throughout her day to breathe, to remember, to reconnect with this state of being, not as an escape from reality, but as a way to engage with it more fully, more authentically, more compassionately. The shadows' whispers grew even softer. The world of daylight needs this wisdom, needs those who remember the lessons of the night. You carry this remembrance now, not as a burden, but as a gift. Elara felt a sense of purpose settle alongside her peace. Not a purpose that demanded striving or achievement, but one that invited being, one that called her to embody rather than to do. The quality of darkness began to shift almost imperceptibly, not yet lightening toward dawn, but changing nonetheless, as if the night itself were preparing for its eventual transition. The whispering shadows sensed this change, their forms becoming more distinct as they gathered around Elara once more. "It will soon be time for you to begin your journey back," they told her, their voices gentle yet clear. "Not to the same place from which you came, for you yourself have changed, but to a world that will benefit from the peace you now carry." Elara felt a momentary resistance, a desire to remain in this perfect state of communion with the forest and its guardians. Yet she also recognized the truth in their words. The gift she had received was not meant to be hoarded, but shared through her presence in the world. "Before you go," said the shadows, "we offer one final teaching, one that has sustained us through countless cycles of light and dark." They drew even closer, their whispers becoming a unified voice that seemed to speak directly to her heart. "Remember that transition is the only constant. Change is not to be feared but embraced as the very essence of life. The moon waxes and wanes. The seasons turn. Day follows night follows day. Nothing remains static. Nothing is permanent. And in this impermanence lies the greatest beauty." Elara contemplated this wisdom, seeing how her suffering had often come from resistance to change, from attempting to hold on to moments that were meant to flow, from fearing endings without trusting in new beginning. "Like us," continued the shadows, "you exist in the in-between spaces. You are neither fully one thing nor another, but a beautiful becoming, always in the process of transformation. There is no final state to achieve, no perfect self to become, only this endless dance of change. This teaching settled into Elara like a key turning in a lock, releasing her from expectations she had placed upon herself, from the exhausting pursuit of some imagined completion. She felt a profound sense of relief wash through her, permission to simply be wherever she was in her journey. "And now," said the shadows, "it is time to prepare for your return." With infinite gentleness, the whispering shadows began to guide Elara back toward wakefulness, not pulling her abruptly from her restful state, but easing her gradually toward a different kind of awareness. "First, become aware once more of your breath," they instructed. "Notice how it flows in and out, without effort, without control, a perfect tide of life-giving air." Elara followed their guidance, bringing her attention to the sensation of breathing, the cool inhalation, the warm exhalation, the slight pause between each breath. There was such simplicity in this basic function, such perfection in its autonomic rhythm. "Now feel the earth beneath you," continued the shadows, "the way it supports you completely, asking nothing in return, offering its steady presence as a gift." Elara became aware again of the moss cradle in which she rested, of the firmness of soil beneath the softness, of the ancient bedrock below that, layer upon layer of support extending deep into the earth. "Listen to the sounds around you," whispered the shadows, the night birds calling their farewells, the leaves rustling in the pre-dawn breeze, the distant murmur of the stream continuing its journey. Elara's awareness expanded to include these gentle sounds, each one distinct yet part of the harmonious whole. She noticed how they created a sense of space around her, defining the dimensions of the forest through their presence. "Feel the air against your skin," the shadows guided. "Notice its temperature, its movement, the way it connects you to everything it touches." Elara became aware of the cool night air caressing her face, her hands, flowing around her body like invisible water, carrying scents and sensations that connected her to the living world. "And now, when you are ready, allow your eyes to open, slowly, gently, receiving the moonlight with soft focus." Elara's eyelids fluttered open, adjusting gradually to the silver illumination that filled the grove. The birch trees stood like pale sentinels around her, their bark seeming to glow with an inner light. The shadows themselves were visible now, not as frightening absences of light, but as dynamic presences with their own kind of luminosity. "You see us more clearly now," they said, their voices warm with approval, "because you have learned to perceive with more than your physical eyes." Slowly, with movements that honored the deep relaxation her body had experienced, Elara sat up. The forest around her seemed both familiar and new, as if she were seeing it through transformed eyes. Every detail appeared more vivid, more alive, infused with significance beyond its mere physical presence. The whispering shadows remained with her, though their forms had grown more subtle as the night eased toward its conclusion. "The path back is before you," they said, "but know that you walk it differently now, carrying the night's wisdom within you." Elara rose to her feet, feeling a profound steadiness, a grounded presence that was new to her. Her body felt both lighter and more substantial, as if she had shed unnecessary weight while gaining essential strength. "Thank you," she said simply, the words inadequate to express the gratitude that filled her heart. "It is we who thank you," replied the shadows, "for remembering how to listen, how to receive, how to be still enough to hear what the night has to teach." They guided her to the edge of the grove, where a path gleamed silver in the moonlight. "This will lead you home," they said, "though home itself may appear changed to your new perception." Elara took her first steps along the path, feeling how it seemed to rise slightly to meet each footfall, supporting her journey with subtle guidance. The forest around her continued its nighttime symphony, but now she could discern individual voices within the collective sound, the unique signature of each participant in this ongoing conversation. As she walked, the whispering shadows accompanied her, sometimes beside her, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. Their presence a comforting reminder that she was not alone, that she would never truly be alone again. "Remember," they murmured as the path began to widen, as the density of trees began to thin. "You need not journey all the way to the forest to find us again. We dwell in the spaces between your thoughts, in the pause between your breaths, in the stillness you create within yourself." Elara nodded, understanding that the greatest gift she had received was not the experience itself, but the knowledge of how to return to this state of being. The door had been opened, the path revealed. She needed only the willingness to walk it again. As the edge of the forest came into view, as the wider world beyond began to make itself known, the whispering shadows offered one final benediction. Carry the peace of the moonlit forest within you. Let it flow through your words, your actions, your very presence in the world. And know that whenever you close your eyes and remember this night, we will be there, whispering our ancient wisdom, guiding you back to the perfect rest that is your birthright. With these words echoing in her heart, Elara stepped from the forest into the world beyond, carrying the night's gentle magic with her, a living gift to be shared through the simple act of being fully, peacefully present in each moment of her life. As Elara continues her journey, allow yourself to drift peacefully into the realm of dreams, knowing that you too carry the wisdom of the whispering shadows, the peace of the moonlit forest, the gift of perfect rest. Sleep now, gentle dreamer, sleep and be renewed.